Do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That's correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Persona in mere moments. With millions in damages and a potential criminal referral looming, the courtroom fell silent. The judge condemned her actions as calculated deception disguised as brand management, ensuring that everyone present heard the harsh reality. Blake Lively's meticulously curated Instagram life crashed spectacularly, devoid of soft lighting, perfectly crafted captions, or any semblance of glamour. Just a judge, a verdict, and a woman who believed her Hollywood image could mask a legal inferno. On June 6, 2025, Judge Miriam Calloway issued a ruling that not only stung, but had the potential to end careers. The case, Carly Benson versus Blake Lively and Preserve Inc., involved serious charges of workplace abuse cover-ups and industrial strength manipulation. The atmosphere in the courtroom was chaotic, and Blake did not enter as the strong, empowered businesswoman portrayed in her People magazine puff pieces. Instead, she left the courtroom screaming uncontrollably. When Judge Calloway looked her directly in the eye and labelled her the mastermind behind a coordinated abuse cover-up, the fantasy bubble surrounding Blake finally burst. Now, let's discuss the financial implications, because this was no mere slap on the wrist. It was an $11.4 million grenade. $8 million was awarded for damages related to workplace abuse, with an additional $3.4 million in punitive damages. To top it off, there was a federal referral for obstruction of justice, involving record tampering and shell company laundering, all tied to the vintage Preserve ribbon she once used to market overpriced jam. Here's the part that should be taught in law schools as a lesson in self-sabotage. A 42-second surveillance clip. Yes, just 42 seconds was all it took to dismantle the entire Blake Lively PR machine. Her team accidentally submitted this footage as part of a routine evidence batch. And what did it reveal? Our seemingly sweet Blake, mid-scream, hurling a wine glass across the office as if auditioning for Real Housewives of Hell. The camera captured the glass flying, a scream, and then blood, actual blood, on the office floor. Not exactly the clean girl aesthetic she had cultivated. When the footage played, Blake stood up and yelled, "It's fake! It's all fake!" However, the judge deemed it unmistakably authentic, calling it the clearest evidence presented during the entire hearing. The security chief from Preserve even corroborated the timestamps, January 13, 2016, should Blake choose to deny it again. The glass didn't lie, but Blake certainly did. Her lawyers attempted to have the footage dismissed, claiming it was unauthorized surveillance, but forensic reviews showed no tampering, no edits, and zero sympathy from the bench. The fallout was swift and brutal. Within 24 hours of the video circulating online, Blake's stock affiliate plummeted by 13 points. Twitter hadn't enjoyed such a spectacle since the Don't Worry Darling press tour. But let's focus on the real MVP in this saga, Carly Benson. She wasn't just a disgruntled ex-employee. She was the assistant Blake tried to erase, ultimately transforming into a courtroom nuke. Carly testified that during a meltdown over candle inventory, yes, candles, Blake launched a wine glass across the room, injuring Carly and leaving her with 9 stitches and deep tissue trauma. And who came to her aid? Not HR, not Blake, but 2 unpaid interns who called for an ambulance while the executive team scrolled through Instagram upstairs. Just when you thought Blake might have sent a text to apologize, Carly's resignation memo from 2016 described Blake as a boss who weaponized charm and wielded silence like a scalpel. Imagine being so disingenuous that your silence inflicts more damage than your words. Let's talk numbers. The judgment wasn't a gentle warning or a legal slap on the wrist. It was a full-blown courtroom carpet bombing. $8 million for emotional and physical damages, things like stitches, trauma, and being left to bleed on a break room floor while your boss scheduled a photo shoot. Then came the bonus round. $3.4 million in punitive damages, because the court decided that if Blake was going to act like a villain, she might as well pay like one. But wait, the best part? a federal referral to the Southern District of New York. This wasn't just about bad behavior anymore. It was about potential obstruction of justice. Blake might want to stop redecorating her kitchen because orange jumpsuits don't match her Whole Foods aesthetic. Judge Calloway even stated explicitly that Blake's behavior was calculated deception under the guise of brand management. That's a fancy way of saying, you thought you could act like a monster behind the scenes and slap a filter on it. And if that quote didn't hit hard enough, how about this one? Had this been handled with decency, there would have been no trial. But PR warfare was chosen over human decency. Honestly, this judge didn't just deliver a ruling. She wrote a eulogy for Blake's entire fake girlboss empire. Legal analysts, who usually sound like robots on sedatives, even remarked that this was the most damning celebrity employer ruling since the Ellen DeGeneres staff expose, but with forensic evidence. You know it's bad when you get compared to Ellen and still come off worse. Now, let's pivot to the most Blake Lively thing ever. Money so dirty it practically screams cover-up. Financial audits didn't just uncover red flags. They found a giant blinking siren with a neon sign that read, "This way to the hush money." A staggering $228,000 in consulting payments were traced to a company called CB Holdings, founded just 2 weeks after Carly's ER visit. You can't make this up. The initials CB match. Carly Benson's name exactly. Blake would love for you to think that's a coincidence, but Carly denied any connection. And surprise? None of the payments had contracts, logs, or any record of actual consulting work. But the plot thickens like one of Blake's fake wellness smoothies. Logs showed that CB Holdings and 2 other mystery companies were created using an IP address tied directly to the Jones Works crisis team. That's right. The same people trying to spin this disaster like it's just another minor PR hiccup accidentally left their fingerprints on a financial crime scene. Then came the most chilling part. Jennifer revealed that Blake's team pulled private mental health records from employees. Read that again. Medical records. These weren't related to the case. They were pulled, dissected, and used to discredit potential whistleblowers. There's unethical, and then there's reading someone's diagnosis to craft a narrative about why they're crazy. One of Jennifer's emails submitted under subpoena literally read, "If Carly flips, we flip it back on her." Gaslight mode activated. Imagine being so malicious that your PR team writes strategy emails like they're pitching a supervillain movie. Another Blake-approved tactic involved deploying a People magazine puff piece about how she credits her mum for creative empowerment. You know, the usual soft-focus distraction. Throw in some flower pictures for the media, pretend to cry about your childhood, and boom. Who cares about the bleeding assistant in the basement? Jennifer, under oath, described all of this as digital warfare on victims. Not PR, not spin, but warfare designed, deployed, and authorized by Blake. And let's be very clear, Jennifer wasn't some bitter ex-employee seeking attention. She had the receipts, email chains, timestamps, Slack messages, and internal memos, all entered into evidence. It wasn't a bombshell, it was a warhead. This isn't a woman caught off guard. This is a woman who had a system in place. A system of silence, manipulation, suppression, and spin. She wasn't blindsided, she was finally exposed. As Jennifer's final damning line echoed through the courtroom, stating, "This wasn't PR strategy, this was digital warfare on victims," you could feel it. The walls of the fake Blake Lively brand didn't just crack, they collapsed. While Blake Lively was busy launching wine glasses and weaponizing puff pieces, guess who was quietly lurking in the background of this PR dumpster fire? That's right, Mr. Deadpool himself, Ryan Reynolds. What made this trial even more surreal wasn't just the evidence, it was the sheer spectacle of it all. The courtroom felt less like a legal chamber and more like a live-streamed celebrity takedown. Every time Blake walked in, reporters jostled for a glimpse, sketch artists practically turned into paparazzi, and gasps rippled through the audience whenever a new document was unsealed. Lawyers weren't just arguing legal theory, they were performing for the front row. One legal analyst even compared it to a high-stakes Broadway tragedy, where the lead actress didn't realize she was also the villain. The prosecution's tone was surgical, cold, precise, devastating. They didn't yell or rant. They dropped receipts like bombs. Meanwhile, Blake's defense team appeared on the verge of quitting mid-sentence. Rumors circulated that 2 associates from her legal team walked out during prep the night before the verdict, refusing to protect a client who thinks good lighting is a substitute for accountability. When a courtroom turns into an arena, only one thing matters: evidence. And in this case, it did all the shouting Blake couldn't silence. But here's the thing. When the gavel drops and the headlines stop spinning, there's no director yelling "cut," no script to rewrite, no lighting team to soften the truth, just the wreckage. And this time, it's hers. If you think this courtroom drama is over, think again. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next twist.